My dad was the bully who imprisoned the canary. My mom was the canary running with the ball. And I was the ball. When my dad found me, he sure didn't believe I was his own. Just as standard, what makes you think I would believe this wild child is mine? Bully, he accidentally heard my heart. The total quote hadn't quite made it out of his mouth yet. Is this my stupid father who has never met me with a black heart and blind eyes? Am I your daughter or not? Don't you know to pull a hair for DNA? Still want to emotionally pull 300. 0 words? What kind of crap text? The dog do not read. For a moment, I realized that my dad, my mom, and my brother, the future villain, were looking at me strangely. My dad is the boss who imprisons the canary. My mom is the canary running with the ball. And I'm the ball. Except just last night, a memory suddenly popped up inside my tiny little head. It turns out I'm the female goose in an old-fashioned canary novel. In the original plot, my dad raped my mom, gave birth to my brother, and ran off with the ball to get me. Then my dad finally found my mom. But the story didn't end there. He misunderstood that my mom liked the second male and that I was not his real daughter. He dug out my mom's kidney for the sake of white moonlight, causing my mom to die a horrible death. Later, after my mom died, my dad was so remorseful that he didn't care about me and my brother. My brother grew into a lick-spittle dark villain of another series of articles. Not only was he used by the bad-hearted female supporting character, but he also killed his only sibling sister, which was me. Knowing all this drama made me wail in horror. But there was nothing I could do about it. Because I'm only 3.5 years old now. And I don't know if it's because of the poor nutrition in my mother's womb. But I can't speak yet. Is this what the book says? The opening is hell. Things are not over yet. The next day, my mom disappeared. According to the plot, she should have been caught by my dad. When I was carried to the big villa by Grandpa Butler, my dad and my mom were already emotionally pulled together. My mom's eyes were red, but her eyes were as firm as a stubborn little white flower. Not saying a word. Standing beside my mom, the tall and handsome man with a bad face should be my dad. Emily, I am less you eat or less you wear. You actually do things to abandon their husbands and children. Before my mom could say anything, an aunt in a white dress appeared next to her and hugged my dad's hand. Brother Alan, don't blame Sister Emily. That incident back then was indeed something you did wrong. After all, you were the one who broke them up. Wow, if I remember correctly, she should be Matilda, the bad woman who harmed my mom and also my brother. The evil female supporting character in the original book. The bad woman's face flashed with surprise when she saw me, but quickly pretended to cover her mouth. This girl is Brother Alan. You had a sterilization operation 7 years ago. This child will not be. Sure enough, as soon as the bad woman opened her mouth, my father immediately looked over with cold eyes and sneered at my mom. This is the bastard you gave birth to behind my back? What makes you think that I would believe that this wild seed is mine? I was a little sad and angry. Is this my stupid father with a black heart and blind eyes that I've never met? Am I your daughter or not? Don't you know how to pull a hair for DNA? Still want to emotionally pull 300. 0 words? What kind of crappy article? Dogs don't even read it. I don't know why. Just now my dad's still angry expression suddenly froze. He glanced at my mom, and then at me. What are you looking at? Did you realize you look like me? Of course. I'm your goose. Stupid dad. For a moment, he seemed to draw a breath. Just as my mom and the bad woman looked shocked, he strides over to me and picks me up from Grandpa Butler's arms. The weight of the solid ball made his hand sink downward. And the next second, he picked me up easily and appended me. It was still solid. He looked at me and suddenly smiled. And in this smile, I felt my handsome father's deep malice towards the fat female goose and cried out with a wow. That day, my dad stripped my hair to do DNA. The bad woman stopped my dad. Brother Alan, what do you mean? Don't you believe in science? My dad shook off the bad woman's hand. His eyes were cold. But his IQ was suddenly online. I don't not believe in science. Matilda, you are a medical student. You should know that condoms have the probability of unplanned pregnancies. Not to mention ligature surgery. The bad woman blushed white and forced a smile. That too. I clapped in my heart seals. It turns out that stupid dad is still a bit smart. But if you don't mind that I'm fat. It's good. I'm not fat. Mom says I'm baby fat. My dad took another look at me. Then came over and took me from my mom's arms. My mom was hesitant to say anything. She looked very worried about me. What are you looking at? If I kidnap your daughter, where will you run to? Actually, I know this. My dad also has a hard mouth and a soft heart. And saw my mom's hands holding me start to shake before she snatched it away. Unfortunately, both of them are masters of not opening their mouths. Pup sighed. My dad held me and easily went up to the second floor. Seeing that my mom was still in the same place and not moving, my dad raised his eyebrows. What? In his heart there is only you. This fat girl. Your son who was conceived in October. Don't want it? Son, wow. That's my brother. I was a little excited. I actually knew I had a brother a long time ago. My mom had a hard life and always worked several jobs to raise me. She was very frugal with herself and never bought new clothes. But she gave me 2 birthdays a year. I didn't know the plot until later. It turned out that one of the birthdays, in July, was to celebrate my distant brother. But I also knew that my brother didn't like me. When my mom ran away, she didn't have time to take my brother with her. My brother hated my mom when he thought he was abandoned. Even more so, he hated me. The orb who had taken all of my mom's favor. I sighed quietly. And sure enough, I met my brother at the stairway on the second floor. My brother was a good-looking man. Just as good-looking as my dad. Even his face looked exactly like my dad's. And he turned his head away in displeasure at seeing me. Behind him was a girl about his age. I knew who she was. She was the bad-hearted female co-star of the single open series of texts, and the daughter of the bad woman named Isabel. She's as good at acting as her mom is. And even her name reeks of the green tea, the plot says she is. Especially during the years my mom was gone. She accompanied my brother with extraordinary affection. Thinking about what would happen to me in the future, I continued to let out a huge sigh at my tiny age. It really was a hard world. The day back was not a quiet one. My mom and my dad had another fight. My dad covered my ears and carried me to the door. It was also outside the door that I met Isabel. I didn't like her at all. Just like I didn't like her mom. But she's just as stalkerish as her mom. Little round ball. Are you the child Auntie Shen had outside? My mom says you're 4.5 years old. And Auntie Shen has only been gone for 4 years. So you can't be Uncle Ku's daughter. She's so boring. And noisy. My fleshy palm pushed her away. She froze for a second and suddenly laughed. I know. You must be trying to con and steal Arlo's brother. Let me tell you. Little round ball. I'm Brother Arlo's sister. The only sister. I will never let anyone steal him and Uncle. I thought she had a strange expression on her face. Like she was a little bad. I tried to remember the plot. It seems like my brother didn't resent me too much in the beginning. After all, I was most vivacious and cute. But it was only after I accidentally pushed Isabel down the stairs that he started to resent me. I looked at the long flight of stairs and then at my brother who wasn't far away. Was the next episode going to be when she was going to pretend to fall down and say I pushed her? In that moment, my brother's expression seemed to become a bit strange. But he didn't have time to react. In the next second, Isabel pulled my hand and fell straight down. Although I was an orb, I was just a short-legged 3.5-year-old orb. With Isabel taking me like that, I rolled straight down the stairs like a pumpkin. By the time I reacted again, my head was buzzing. Isabel, still holding me in a fake hug, looks over at Arlo. Who's rushing over? I watched her work her lips and wondered if she was about to say the classic line. Brother Arlo. It's none of sister's business. Brother Arlo. It's none of sister's business. My brother's run towards her stalled and he glanced at me suspiciously. What are you looking at? There's still one sentence left to say. She's still young. It's normal for her to be a little bossy. Sure enough. Isabel didn't wait for Arlo's hug and concern and added another sentence. She's still young. It's normal for her personality to be a bit bossy. Only this time. My brother took 2 steps back and looked at Isabel skeptically. Brother Arlo. What's wrong with you? And nothing. Nothing. It was also at this time that I touched the small swollen bump on my forehead and cried out in pain with a wow. My brother picked me up almost without thinking. Like Dad. The solid weight made his hands fall downward, but quickly picked me up without changing his face. My brother carried me to the couch, ruffled my soft hair, and took a closer look at the small bump on my head. Did it hurt? I stopped crying and shook my head. Inside, I was joyful. Wow, brother is so gentle. Brother doesn't mind that I'm fat. Arlo's hand touching my forehead paused, and a pink color suddenly surfaced on his alabaster face. Brother's face is so red. Are you sick? I came to hoo-hoo. Hoo-hoo will be fine. Only I didn't huff and puff successfully. Because just now this meal operation finally alarmed the quarrel my parents my mom. Come down. Especially my dad. After coming downstairs and seeing the swollen bag on my forehead, his face immediately sank to reveal. Arlo. Have I taught you anything? Even if there are some things you don't like, the surface can't be obvious to such a small child. You lay such an obvious hand? After my dad finished speaking, my brother's hand holding me stiffened. Although I didn't quite understand, I knew my dad was scolding my brother. Stupid dad. It wasn't my brother who pushed me down the stairs. Yes, it was that bad girl. She brought me downstairs. Bad dad. Don't scold your brother. Not only that, but I also sensed my brother trying to back away, and I lunged up and hugged him. I don't know why, but my brother was obviously struggling with little strength, but his face was getting redder and redder. My dad, on the other hand, was looking at my mom with a lofty expression. You say your daughter is 4.5 years old and still can't speak? Cub is not 4.5 years old. Cub is 3.5 years old. My dad's figure stiffened for a long time before he spoke. Good. Emily. You're hiding everything from me. That's good. That's really good. I'm going to ask you one last time. How old is this child? Didn't you read the investigation report? What's the matter? Alan? You still think I'd give birth to your child if I didn't have to? Emily. You're not a mother. My dad was obviously furious. But I was more worried about my brother. Because of those words, the pink color of his face from earlier receded, and now all that was left was a ghastly white. My chubby palms covered my brother's ears. Brother. Don't listen. Mommy didn't mean it. Mommy likes you. But no matter how anxiously I said it in my mind, my brother just gently yet firmly ripped my hands off. He put me on the couch and turned to leave. He left so fast. It was like he was running away. My dad glared at my mom and followed, going out as well. So neither of them saw the pained and guilty look on my mom's face afterward. I sighed as I rubbed the small pouch on my forehead. Why didn't my mom talk to my brother when she loved missing him so much? Looking up, I saw my mom looking at me incredulously. Hup, you can talk now? Of course I still can't talk. My mom rubbed the small bag on my forehead. Distracted. Does Pup think I'm a bad mom too? Do that to your brother. I shook my head. My mom is good at everything, but she has a hard mouth. My mom paused in her rubbing of my hand. Then she continued. I just don't know how to talk to him. As soon as I saw him, I felt very guilty. He was still so small. I left him behind. My mom cried as she spoke. I sighed. This family, without me, really have to fall apart. Mom did not say. Do wrong things should have the courage to apologize, is not it? Mom, since she did something wrong, just apologize with brother. Is that right? My mom was still a bit uncertain. But very quickly, she seemed to firm up her resolve. She rubbed my little head. Yes, our cub is right. To do something wrong is to be brave enough to admit it. Mom knows it's wrong. And Mom will apologize to my brother. The next day, when my brother came downstairs with his school bag on his back, my mom had already been busy in the kitchen for a long time. She had made a table full of breakfast. But my brother didn't even look at it. The anticipation on my mom's face slowly disappeared, and all the words she had been practicing all night were stuck in her throat. Seeing that my brother had already walked towards the entrance hall and started to put on his shoes, alarm bells went off in my heart. My brother. Don't go. Mom has made your favorite cinnamon dumplings. Mom didn't mean to say that about you. She and Dad are upside down. But my brother and I are normal people. I had short legs and tried to catch up with my brother. But I realized that my brother wasn't even walking. Instead, he gave me that strange look again. Brother. It's true. You believe me. Cubs never lie. If you don't believe me, go through my mom's cell phone. She has pictures of you from when you were born as a child stored in her phone. I have 2 birthdays every year. I was born in October. That cake in July must be for you. Don't disbelieve the pups. Because every July birthday, Mom's gift is a small car. Pups don't like little cars. And at that moment, my mom finally broke through the barrier and walked to the foyer. Sham. Do you want to come over for some breakfast? After what seemed like a century of waiting, my brother moved. He picked up his school bag. I'm sorry. I'm going to be late. My mom's eyes turned red for a moment. But the next moment, my brother spoke again. If it's okay, can I bring 2 buns to eat on the way? When my brother said this, his face turned red again. It was like a delicious red apple. My mom's eyes also turned red. But she packed the breakfast on the table as fast as she could and stuffed it to my brother. Among them, there were also my favorite bean paste buns. Oh, Cub's favorite bean paste buns. My brother was already out the door with a breakfast he couldn't finish in 3 days. For some reason, it backed out again. He took out a steaming hot bean paste bun from inside, blew it cold and then shoved it into my chubby palm. Cub's good boy. Brother, after class soon come back. Come back and bring lots and lots of goodies for you. Ooh, wow. Brother is the best. I jumped into my brother's arms, so happy that I wanted to shed tears. This kind of brother. How can it be the original book that bad things to do all the last because of the tragic death of his sister regret for life villain? After that day, my brother and my mom seemed to have made up. They would eat at the same table, while my brother did his homework. My mom knitted sweaters. My mom was very good at knitting. And she made all my pretty little dresses by hand. The only thing is that this sweater looks so big that I can't wear it until I'm at least 7 or 8 years old. I covered the little fat hands. Smile narrowed crescent eyes. Wow, it was knitted for my brother. My mom was quick to act. Soon my brother's soft yellow sweater was on. I had never seen my brother look like that before. I wanted to laugh. But I didn't dare. Like he was afraid that it was all fake and couldn't believe it. Suddenly my heart ached for my brother and I jumped over and hugged him. Brother, don't be afraid. Pup is real. Doesn't Dad also say that cubs are real? I don't know why. Brother puffed out a laugh. He had a very nice smile. My mom also laughed. As soon as she did, she took my brother into her arms. But as she laughed and laughed, my mom suddenly started to cry again. Until my dad came down and carried my mom upstairs. My mom's face was red as an apple. Pushed and slapped my dad. My dad came up to her ear and said something. My mom's face turned even redder. Her eyes watery and especially pretty. Afterwards, my dad took my mom upstairs. Said he wanted to comfort mom. But he's the dumbass dad. Talking about comforting mom. But as a result, my mom even cried. She cried so miserably. I heard it all the way downstairs. My skeptical little eyes went to my brother. My brother sighed and reached over, covering my little ears. My mom doesn't seem to have made up with my dad though. Because my mom knitted a sweater for everyone in the cottage. Even the big yellow dog that strung them along. It was my dad who didn't. My dad got angry. Started fighting with my mom again. Emily. Do you hate me that much? Alan. I thought you already knew. Emily. Don't say what you mean. Is it so hard to say you like me, and want me to be nice to you? Who likes you? Who wants you? Don't flatter yourself. The cub is my daughter. It has nothing to do with you. The paternity test says so. How long do you have to keep your mouth shut? So what? I just don't like to kill. Alan, do you think you're some kind of meat and potatoes? Or do you think I'm Matilda? That I'd fall in love with you without any shame, if you gave me some favors? Why are you talking about Matilda again? I told you. She's just my neighbor's sister. Grew up together. Forget it. My mom pushed my dad away. Tears welling up in her eyes but forcing them not to fall. Nothing made sense anymore. Emily. Get this straight. Watching my dad begin to skillfully pull my mom's hand again and occasionally pinch my mom's face. I sighed in my heart. Stupid dad. My mom is just jealous. My mom thinks she's the bad aunt's double? My dad's movements stopped. I double? How can you be Matilda's double? My mom seemed to have misunderstood. And in an instant, she resisted even more. And her tears spilled out like crazy. Yes, I know I am not worthy. An orphan girl. No culture. No family. No appearance. How can I be worthy of being Miss Shaw's double? Emily, do you have to be like this? Hey, Mom. Dad does not mean this. Dad has never treated you as a double. Believe Cub. The first time Dad saw you, he wanted to marry you home. Matilda is a bad aunt. What she said is all lies. But you even named our son. You named him Arlo. Not Matilda? My dad grabbed my mom's hand. His face a little helpless. Emily. Thanks to your self-proclaimed intelligence. Arlo. Arlo. You only thought of Matilda. Why didn't you think of Emily? My mom seemed to freeze for a long time before she blushed and pushed my dad. My dad put her in a hug and started biting her ear again. Besides, what's one Matilda? I haven't even talked about your little thing with Max yet. You're still talking about. My dad threw up his hands and surrendered. Well. Anyway. You're mine now. And so are the pups. My dad shamelessly came over to kiss my mom's face again. Which I saw. My mom struggled and patted my dad's back. Her eyes looking at me. My dad seemed to sigh. Resignedly let go of my mom. And came over to hug his heavy daughter. What did your daughter grow up on? Why did she weigh some more in a few days? I, who had just been touched by my parents' love, sniffed and cried out again with a wow. I hate the stupid dad who crosses the river and breaks the bridge. After that day, my dad and my brother both unanimously distanced themselves from the Shaw family mother and daughter. Especially my dad. Bluntly said to Matilda, for so many years, I have been abiding by my uncle's wishes and treating you as my sister. I hope that our relationship stops here as well. Matilda's tears came and went. And she kept rolling in her eyes. Brother Alan. Did Sister Emily say something in front of you? I really don't have that kind of mind. It is Emily's sister who has misunderstood. Whether it is a misunderstanding or not. You know it in your heart. My dad shook off Matilda's hand. Flicked the dust that was not on his sleeve. And his voice was even colder. And I am married now. It was hard for me to get my wife back. And I don't want to do anything that would make her misunderstand. In the future, you should still come to my house less often. Matilda's tears finally fall. Also, whoever Isabel's father is, I haven't asked over the years. But in order for us to leave each other with the last decency, it's better to change the child's name. If it's difficult for you, I can change my name. My dad came over and hugged me, and skillfully played the game of upside down again. Don't say. Although dad is clumsy, dad is very strong. I used to envy my neighbor's little boy, whose dad would always come home after work to pick him up and turn him upside down. I'm so happy that I've realized the freedom of being upside down. Only. I stole a glance at Matilda. She had such a strange look in her eyes, looking at me as if she was about to come over and bite me. I habitually ducked into my dad's arms. What's wrong, Cup? I looked at Matilda with some fear, but she has long since returned to normal, and took out the beautiful flower dress from her bag and handed it to me. Brother Alan, I know how difficult it is for you. It's okay. You treat me as your sister, and I sincerely treat you as my brother. Since we are all family, it's not too much for me to buy my little niece some gifts, right? Although those little dresses are pretty, I don't like them. The ones my mom made are pretty too. Since she's the daughter of the Koo family, she should wear some nice clothes. What's the point of wearing miscellaneous brand names? It's not a brand name. That's what my mom gave me personally. My mom's little dresses, the knitted sweaters are all very nice. The best. At those words, my dad's face sank, probably thinking about the fact that all the dogs in the family had a sweater. But he himself didn't. My dad's tone became very bad. Matilda, my daughter doesn't need you to worry about her yet. And I don't think that skirt looks bad on her. My pups are the prettiest. They look beautiful in a rag. Come on, Butler. It's getting late. Miss Summer has her own daughter to worry about. Send her back. After that, Matilda and her daughter never came back to my house. But they were still very present. Especially Isabel, who has now changed her name to Leah. She seems to be in bad health and always calls my brother at night. My brother said it's useless to call him as he's not a doctor. Leah burst into tears. I don't know what happened, but she called my dad in the middle of the night. My mom got a little angry and ran over to me and hugged me to sleep. My dad came over a little while later with a pillow in his arms. Poor me. My little bed was stuffed with 2 adults. Not only that, they also quietly bit their ears behind my back. But the baby had good ears and heard them. Don't worry. I've already said hello to the doctor. I'm sure he'll treat her well. What they want is you. Naturally, nothing is wrong with you when you go. My mom grunted. My dad laughed and came over to bite my mom's ear. I'm not a doctor. I can't cure her daughter. After a pause, my dad backtracked and kissed my mom's neck. But I do have a trick up my sleeve. Weren't you not feeling well earlier? Come. Brother will give you a shot and you'll be fine. My mom slapped my dad hard again, her voice spouting. You're crazy. Your daughter is still around. Oi, inside my tiny body. I sighed a big sigh. The 2 of them quickly finished walking away. Pups still have to sleep. Finally, my brother came. He pushed open the door and picked up the heavy me with no expression on his face. You guys go back to your own rooms and make a mess. Tonight the pups and I sleep together. Wow, I can finally have a peaceful sleep. Later I kind of know. My father and my mother just 2 days a small quarrel. 3 days a big quarrel. After the fight, they kissed and got together again. No wonder the plot says they are epileptic grandparents who don't have long mouths. It makes sense to me. The longest argument I've ever seen. It was because the uncle came over. Uncle's name is Max. He's a painter. He's very close to my mom. My mom wasn't well when she was pregnant with me. I almost wasn't born when I was in the hospital. It was my uncle who saved me. The nurse's sister said he cried the first time he saw me. I don't know what there is to cry about. But that didn't stop me from liking my uncle. But my dad didn't like uncle. He and uncle had a fight. My mom was beside herself with anxiety. I was anxious too. The flowers my brother and I planted are going to be trampled to death by dad. Max, you still have the nerve to show up. What am I embarrassed about? Emilie and I are friends for life. I wouldn't know a couple that broke up could still be friends. Unless they didn't break up at all. My mom screamed and cried again. Alan, you don't trust me until now. My uncle punched my dad even harder in the face. Alan, this punch is me punching for Emily. She broke up with me in less than 2 days and was forced by you to be a canary for 3 years with power and money. She's a human being, not an animal. Bang! There was a second punch. This time, I'm punching for Pup. Pup has never seen her father since she was born. She is afraid of Emily's hard work. Even when the apple is bad, she will secretly eat it all. Even now, she can't even say a word. Bang! My dad was also angry and punched his uncle. Max, who are you to talk about me? Weren't you the one who said break up in the first place? And what's wrong with my daughter not being able to speak? I haven't said anything about you yet. I don't know what kind of tampering has been done to make my daughter so much like you. Are you suspecting Emily? Use come. Seeing that the two were about to fight again, I was very speechless. Stupid dad. Of course I look like my uncle. Isn't it sad that a nephew looks like an uncle? And mom, you can't cry all the time. You're an adult. Can't we talk things over? Besides, Max is my real uncle. Is that embarrassing? At those words, my dad stopped moving. He looked at Max with disbelief. Your brother Emily? My uncle was also in a bad way. His face was bruised and purple. I was a little heartbroken and walked over to help my uncle huff and puff. Uncle was still a bit angry. But when he saw me, he didn't seem angry anymore. He picked me up and glared at my dad. If it wasn't for the blood, how could it not be your turn? The plot said that my mom and uncle were a great couple. But then my uncle found out and it turned out that my mom was his half-sister. My uncle was so sad that he broke up with my mom on his own accord. My mom was sad for a long time. And this time my dad showed up and played a whole set of forceful and abusive love. Pushed my mom away hard and far. Finally until my mom ran away with the ball, and Ray encountered my uncle. She knew the truth of that year. My dad's entire body was blindsided when he found out. Reacting, he tried to hug my mom. He was opened by my mom with a slap. My dad seemed to be seriously injured and immediately collapsed. My mom was shocked again and pounced on my dad to ask him where he was hurting. I was worried about my dad too. With his panda eyes, it looked like he was in a lot of pain. My uncle, however, didn't care and picked up the solid ball of me and headed out the door. Let's go. Cubs sent uncle to the hospital. Uncle also pain. After my uncle left, my dad and my mom had a much better relationship. Of course, occasionally my dad would ask my mom sorry. If he wasn't your brother, who would you choose? Alan, are you done? You're in your 30s. Are you childish or not? Whenever they argue like that, my brother would carry me to his room. Let them argue. We don't care. It's also true that as a pair of qualified children, we always disappear automatically when it's time to disappear. That day, my dad and mom took me to get vaccinated. And at the hospital we ran into Matilda, who had disappeared for a long time. Matilda said she was sick. Very sick. When we got home, my dad and mom said that she was indeed very sick and needed an immediate kidney transplant. I was so scared that I dropped the apple in my hand. It's over. It's over. The ultimate kidney transplant episode is coming up. Is dad going to let mom give bad auntie a new kidney? Is the cub going to become an orphan? No, an orphan girl? I chewed on my chubby finger and noticed my dad and my mom both giving me sideways glances. My dad immediately threw up his hands in surrender. Emily. I swear on my life. I never thought of it that way. My mom's eyes were red. But it was a human life. My dad hugged her. His voice gentle. I know. Matilda is Uncle Xia's daughter. The one I grew up seeing. But compared to that, you are my most important family and love. I won't let you take the slightest risk. My dad stroked my mom's hair and added, do you know why I went for a sterilization after you gave birth to Ashin back then? My mom shook her head. Because you were bleeding profusely on the operating table. even though the doctor assured me that you would be saved. But I was still scared at that moment. And there were still so many things I hadn't told you or taken you to do. I didn't want to lose you. So I went ahead and got a ligation, not wanting to put you through the pain of childbirth. It's just that you seem to have misunderstood. Misunderstood that I don't want your child. Fool. You're the wife I fell in love with at first sight. How could I not want you and your child? I just can't figure out how the ligation surgery failed. My mom cried again. But this time, she cried beautifully. Also, the plot and my dad said it all. When my mom cries, it pairs iron-blooded and fierce men. All of them would fall down immediately. After that, I didn't bother about Matilda. I heard she was very sick. I heard that she had a special body, and that no suitable kidney had been found. But my dad said he's rich and will find one. I believe my dad too. After all, he's nothing like the dad in the episode. He was as smart as the cub. And then later, I was caught. It turned out to be Matilda. She had lost a lot of weight, and was in bad spirits. She pinched my chubby face and was very angry. It's all because of you that Brother Alan ignored me. He doesn't even care about his beloved Leah. You shameless mother and daughter. You left and left. Why did you come back? Do you know how much effort I put into rig Brother Alan's ligature? I had thought that as long as your mother was gone, Brother Alan would definitely see me next to him. But no matter how I tried to lure, Brother Alan always can't see me. You little wild child. What are you looking at? I have nothing now. What makes her Emily so happy? I'll make her trade her life for her daughter. Whoa. How come the plot didn't say that Matilda is the biggest upside-down bitch compared to my dad and mom? The cubs are so scared. But soon enough, my dad and mom came. My dad asked Matilda to release me. Said he had found a suitable kidney source. Matilda didn't believe it. Brother Alan, you know very well that the most suitable kidney source for me is Emily. She's got everything. Whether it's people or money. She got it all. Even 2 kidneys. What's wrong with sharing one with me? Not much. You're not well. And neither is my wife. I won't put her at the slightest risk. Matilda suddenly burst into tears. Alan, I've known you for 25 years. My dad even lost his life to save you. You promised to take good care of me. Now, is that how you take care of me? Matilda, I said you're my sister for life. Bullshit sister. I don't want to be your sister. I want you to be your favorite for life. My dad sighed. I'm sorry then. I've had a lot of hearts in my life. But only one. My favoritism has been given to Emily. And I can't give it to anyone else. Then I don't know what my dad did. He waved his hand. And in a flash many police uncles appeared. Only what they didn't expect. At the last minute Matilda still didn't let go of me. She was going to cut the rope that was tying me up. In an instant, my dad and mom panicked. Matilda, release the cub. I'll promise you anything you want. It was already too late. I was shaking in the air. I really disliked myself for being fat for a while. It felt like the rope was about to break. Just at the critical moment, my brother appeared. He tied Leah. Auntie, if you hurt one hair on my sister, I'll give it back to Leah twice over. End of story. Matilda let me go. Because my brother took out a knife and cut the rope that tied Leah. It was a perfect ending to the story. I was the only one who was a little sad. Matilda did release me. But the rope still broke. Because I was a solid ball and crushed the rope. Just as I fell, I saw my dad, my mom, and my brother lunging at me like crazy. Brother! Bang! I fell like a pumpkin. But luckily, there was a soft cushion underneath. I wasn't hurt at all. Just dizzy. But my brother still looked scared. Holding me and checking me up and down. And finally glared at my dad and mom. Are you guys done with this? Is love the only thing adults know how to do? My dad and mom glanced at me guiltily. I wasn't angry at all. It's just that my dad was a bit skeptical. Did our daughter speak just now? My mom nodded her head as well. But no matter how much they try to lure me, I still don't say a word. No need to say it to let people know what I think. This feeling, it's cool. Why should I change?